Greetings, East Orange community. I am your Superintendent Abdul Salim Hassan, and I would like to welcome you to the upcoming 2020-21 school year. I'm extremely proud to be back in the great city of East Orange, and I look forward to working with you on behalf of your students. As we embark upon the opening of the school year, it is important to recognize that it will be unlike any other school year we experience. This year will require a great deal of flexibility as we navigate the new normal. In doing so, the East Orange School District will continue to place the health and safety of our students as the foremost of our decision making. Today, my goal is to share with you the long-awaited East Orange School District reopening plan. The guiding document was created in collaboration with the Board of Education, the East Orange Education Association, the East Orange Administrative Association, as well as key agencies in the city and a task force comprised of educators, parents, and community partners. I would like to thank you for your time and effort and commitment to our students. As I walk you through the important points of the restart and recovery plan to reopening schools, it is important to note that the plan may be subject to change should there be any executive order or new CDC guidelines in the weeks to follow. As we all know, this is a rapidly changing pandemic landscape, and we have to be patient and always be open to change. How do we decide which scenario is best for the East Orange School District? We need to know that the guidance and orders from the federal and state and local agencies will change weekly and sometimes daily. So I want to emphasize, based on this, plans are subject to change. We are closely monitoring these changes and are conferencing regularly with the districts to make sure that we are using the most current information when making decisions to ensure the health and safety of our students and staff. The current key guidance from the CDC. As we look around the nation, look at it as a new normal as we go to stores and as we're starting to reopen the schools. The phased reopening is not a return to the pre-pandemic normal. We all must consistently take the 5 core actions to reduce the spread of COVID-19. Number 1, physical distancing. Number 2, wearing face coverings. Number 3, hand washing. Number 4, cleaning services. And I want to re-emphasize number 5, staying home if you are sick. The guidance from CDC includes social and physical distancing in classroom, buses, and shared spaces. These are important COVID-19 prevention strategies. Physical distancing limits the number of students and staff who could be inside a school at any time. It is also suggested that you use body scans and thermometers for temperature checks during the school day. Reopening the East Orange School District during COVID-19. East Orange School District will bring back the students to school in phases, beginning with a modified in-person model based on 25% of the building capacity, with a minimum of 1 day per week. Maximum number of students per classroom while maintaining 6 feet of distancing. Students in rows facing forward. All students were required to wear a mask throughout the day, with at least 1 mask break. Students return to school in phases. Opt-out remote learning choices for parents, hybrid, and full-time remote learning has been made available. For parents who choose to opt out, the student must remain remotely for at least 1 marking period cycle. And as you see, the Google form is attached and it's actually on the website live for you to take advantage of. What are the variables driving the district's reopening decision? As you see on this slide, this is how we come up with the building capacity. It's dealing with physical distancing requirement, school building capacity, and number of students. As you see on this slide, physical distancing requirements. As you see before, what we call brick and mortar of school, we used to get between, I would say, 25 to 30 students in a classroom. But now with CDC guidelines, the students have to maintain 6 feet apart. Now we can only get about 15 to 16 students in a classroom. So this is actually a diagram of what a simple classroom would look like with about 15 to 16 students. First month of school reopening, phase 1. During the first 4 weeks of school, students will enter the building in small groups to meet the building staff and to be given materials needed to utilize at home for extended remote learning. During this time, no more than 25% of the building capacity will come into the building each day. Students will be provided with packets to ensure remedial instruction for previous loss of instruction during the 2020 transition into remote learning. Assessments will be given to determine gaps in student achievement. Also, as we look at this slide, we look at the 4 weeks. We look at the first week is that September the 7th is Labor Day. So as you look at the four groups, you have Group A, Group B, Group C, and Group D. They will come the first week, I would say Tuesday to Friday. As you look at week 2, Group A will come on Monday, Group B will come on Tuesday. On Wednesday, that'll be full remote for staff and students. Group C will come in on Thursday, and Group D will come in on Friday. And the third week, it will be the same as the week 2. The fourth week, the school district will be fully remote for that week, outside of having a half day in service that will be remote. First month of school reopening, phase 1, for pre-K, special education, self-contained, and bilingual, pre-K to 8th. During the first 4 weeks of school, pre-K, special education, self-contained, and bilingual K to 8 population will enter the building in small groups to meet the building staff and be given materials needed to utilize at home for extended remote learning. During this time, 50% of the classroom enrollment will attend 2 days a week. Students will be provided with packets to ensure remedial instruction for previous loss of instruction during the 2020 transition into remote learning. Assessments will be given to determine gaps in student achievement. So as we look at the September month, it's similar. Only difference is the groups will be broken down to Group A and Group B. Group A will go to school 2 days a week. Group B will go to school the following 2 days a week. So if you look at week 2, Group A will come to school Monday and Tuesday. Group B will come to school on Thursday and Friday, as well as the same for week 3. And on week 4, they will be fully remote, except for the staff will have in-service on September the 30th. Phase 2. Now I want to emphasize, notification will be provided at least 15 days prior to implementation. During the full remote week, from September the 28th to October the 7th, the East Orange School District will reassess the crisis related to COVID-19, whether or not we will move into Phase 2. Phase 2 will be implemented based on assessment of health and safety crisis. During Phase 2, students will be divided into 2 cohorts, the combination of A and B, as well as C and D, where 50% of the population will attend school 2 days a week back-to-back to ensure contact tracing if necessary. Group A and B will become Cohort A. Group C and D will become Cohort B. Phase 1 modification for pre-K, special education self-contained, bilingual K to 8 will be reassessed, and necessary changes will be made based on numbers and building capacity. Full-time remote learning. Full-time remote learning, all students learn remotely utilizing the learning management system, Schoology. Reasonably, accommodations and modifications will be made based on the student's individual learning plan. All guidelines associated with remote learning can be found in the East Orange e-learning guide. Parents who choose to opt out and remain on remote learning status must complete a contract and remain in that status for at least 1 full marking period. In addition to full remote, parents who filled out the survey and filled out the information will be contacted in reference to the contract. More details to follow on filling out the contract. Safety precautions for all school environments. Vendors will require to follow the East Orange School District recommendation when working in or entering buildings. Guidelines for parents entering buildings will become part of the East Orange School District policies, Policy 1648. Restart and recovery plan will be shared with parents. Discontinue water fountains and replace some with bottle refill stations. A cleaning frequency chart that addresses COVID-19 concerns has been established. Building staff will help with personal space and disinfecting procedures. Supplies will be provided. Safety precautions for all school environments. 2 categories for cleaning: surface cleaning, immediate closure; deep cleaning, extended closure. Surface cleaning: isolate the area, shut down HVAC system in that area if necessary, get additional staff if needed, provide PPE, gloves, masks, and goggles, opening of exterior doors, windows where applicable, discarding of all trash in trash cans, surface disinfecting, All equipment used during the cleaning process will be disposed of, PPE, garbage, etc. Closing of all exterior doors, windows where applicable. Reactivate HVAC system if shut down. Deep cleaning. Isolate areas, open the exterior doors, windows when applicable, shut down the HVAC system in that area if necessary. Additional staff will be called if needed and provided with the appropriate PPE. Discarding all trash in trash can. High to low level, top site down to bottom, dusting, disinfecting, horizontal surfaces to include light fixtures, vacuuming all entry and high traffic areas if necessary, HVAC vents and units disinfected, disinfect all rooms, change HVAC filters. All equipment used during the cleaning process will be disposed of, PPE, garbage, etc. Closing all exterior doors, windows when applicable. Also, the last thing is reactivate the HVAC system if it was shut down. Disinfectant products used. ES364 neutralized disinfectant by Charlotte Products Ltd. Safety precautions for transportation services. Throughout the state of New Jersey, this is truly a major concern for urban communities, rural communities, and suburban communities. As we are aware that now with the new guidelines from CDC, students must be on the bus, must maintain 6 feet distancing on all buses. Masks must be worn by students and adults. Vendors will be required to follow the East Orange School District recommendations when operating buses. Hand sanitizers installed on buses with addition to routine bus sanitation. East Orange School District reserves the right to limit the use of busing based on budgetary constraints. There will be no courtesy busing available. As you see from the diagram, usually most buses are a 54 passenger bus. As you see from the seating chart where the stars are indicated, we can only get about 11 students on the bus. The only way we can get additional students on the bus if the student has a family member who resides in that household who could sit beside them. But on a regular day, only 11 students can get on the bus, which creates a huge cost, as I stated before, of budgetary constraints. Social emotional supports for students. Social emotional learning needs will be a top priority in the East Orange School District classrooms from pre-K to 12. Identification of students that require additional social emotional supports. Board approved August 11, 2020. Social emotional healing curriculum for elementary and secondary. Resources made available for students, staff, and team members. School counseling and social work services for in-person as well as the virtual format. Weekly health and wellness opportunities will be provided. We also have to be aware that not only what students are affected, but we also understand our staff were affected as well. So we want to make sure we take the necessary steps to take care of our staff and students' ecosystem. Concern. As we see from local health and county health, it's a concern about limiting movements throughout the building. Changing classes and movements in the building is limited and varies based on the grade level and the building constructs. Recess only applies to elementary. Based on the 25% of the population, half of the students will eat while the other half are permitted to go outside. During this time, masks will be worn in the isolated area and students will receive a break as necessary. Lunch. Lunch grab and go on remote days at Pacific location. Building Pacific based on grade level and building constraints. Physical education will be modified with the 25% of the building capacity to ensure safety. Masks will be worn, but breaks will be provided in an isolated area. Again, I want to thank you all for viewing the presentation, but I want you to be truly aware that as the state agencies and the federal government CDC guidelines change, so will the plan change. So please be mindful to be flexible throughout this process. But again, I want to thank you all for watching the presentation.